What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are here with the second injury report of the week for the Lions and for the Arizona Cardinals. Unfortunately, for the Lions side, we were hit with some pretty bad news today. Sprinkling in a little bit of good, but some pretty bad news. There's really one major story that came from the Lions side today. And on the Cardinals, a lot of similarities to yesterday with a couple of tweaks. So let's get it started.
The city's been down and it found a way to get up. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up. And then it's going to take two more shots to knock us down. We're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
And welcome, everybody, to another video. Glad you guys are here. Man, it's good to be back. Thursday night football tonight. And this is a good Thursday night matchup. 8 and 5 versus 9 and 4 tonight. They're both coming off good wins. I know the Chiefs just smacked the Raiders. This is a good matchup. I like this. So comment down below who you got in tonight's game. Also, did you guys see the news? The Urban Meyer news that he's out of Jacksonville. Yeah, that got ugly fast. I did not know that was all going on in Jacksonville. I mean, we heard the stories. We all saw the video earlier this season. But then they read it last night. He kicked his kicker. Like, what the heck? Hey, a lot going on in that situation. He's no longer in Jacksonville. He was fired. There's only been like 3 coaches that have been fired before their first year is over, I'm pretty sure. So I thought I would just throw it in there if you didn't see it. What that means is that Darrell Bevell will once again have his chance as the interim head coach. How often has that happened where a coach has become the interim head coach twice with different teams, back-to-back years? I don't know, but that's pretty crazy. So I'm definitely rooting for Darrell Bevell over there with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I doubt he gets the job there. They'll probably hire someone else this offseason. But hey, I'm rooting for him. Also, tonight, it's a good football game. Now, we're going to be live on Last Second Sports for Last Second Dose tonight. We're going to be doing some interesting things over there tonight. So make sure you check us out. You can tune into the game. We can talk about the game. It's going to be a good show tonight. So just there you go. So we have the injury report today, and there is some bad news when you look at the Lions side. Plus, we got to hear from the Lions coordinators, Aaron Glenn, Anthony Lynn. There's some big news on the Lions side. It's just not a lot of great news, see if you know what I'm saying. All right, let's dive into it. Should we start with the Cardinals first? I mean, we started with the Lions, yes. I think we should start with the Cardinals. Let's start with the Cardinals, okay? Theirs is much shorter. Shouldn't take as long. Let's take a look at this Arizona Cardinals injury report for Thursday, okay? Now, not a ton of changes from yesterday. There are a couple little tweaks, not a ton of changes. There's still a lot of things we're kind of waiting on with the Arizona Cardinals. Haven't been really able to find many updates on Chase Edmonds, or not he'll be able to play this week with James Conner, who could be down this week. Is it going to be Eno Benjamin? Is it going to be his show? So there are still some questions going around with the Arizona Cardinals. But taking a look at their injury report, you start off at the top with Robert Alford, who we talked about yesterday, did not participate. So they went out and they signed Breon Borders from the Tennessee Titans. And once again, he did not practice today either. This would be a tough loss if he can't go in this game. And back-to-back days of no participation, usually not a good sign. And plus the fact that they signed a cornerback, just had that feel that he won't be able to play this weekend. So yeah, we'll kind of just wait and see where it goes and if it does improve. But as of right now, no participation for 2 straight days. Then it is James Conner, who once again did not participate today, dealing with his ankle injury. James Conner has been really nice for the Arizona Cardinals this season. I mean, really nice for the Cardinals. And Aaron Glenn talked about him, saying he's got a lot of power. A lot of his touchdowns are coming within 5 yards because you know the run it, you just can't tackle him. You can't stop him. The guy is always falling forward. And actually, that's a spot where Aaron Glenn said their defensively, they had to be better than last week, because last week they missed, a lot of it was just missed tackles. There was a couple of breakdowns, like the touchdown that they gave up, but he said there was a lot of missed tackles. We had some opportunities to get up on 3rd down. We missed tackles. So that's what the focus is this week, especially with the running back, James Conner. But he may not play this weekend. We'll see. So Chase Edmonds will be interesting. We'll keep an eye on it, see if we get any updates with that. So he's currently on IR. He would have to be activated off IR, but they have until Saturday to do that. So we'll see if that happens. I just haven't really got any updates from it yet. And also, Eno Benjamin is another one of their running backs who could take on a bigger role this week if Conner can't play. Now, Fotu improved today to limited participation. So that's a little good update to throw in there. He did not practice yesterday. They get a little bit of defensive line depth possibly back with Fotu returning to practice. The big one is Deandre Hopkins. As we talked about yesterday, he is pretty much out for this game. I don't know if he was like listed as out, but he's out for this game. He is expected to miss the rest of the regular season with knee surgery. There have been some conflicting reports out there, which makes it kind of confusing. There's been some reports that have said 6 weeks and saying, hey, if they go on a little postseason run, he could be back this year. And there's other reports that have said 2 to 4 months. It's still kind of up the air on how long he's actually going to be out. But either way, that means he'll be out for this game. So let's just say it now. DeAndre Hopkins will not play against the Lions. If he played against the Lions, I would be in complete shock. He will not play against the Lions this weekend. So a torn MCL in the knee of DeAndre Hopkins could keep him out for the rest of the regular season. And we'll see how far that plays into the postseason, assuming they make the postseason, and how the reports change, because they could definitely change. It's still early. When you look at their defensive line, they could be missing some depth here. So Fotu looks like he's back, which helps. But Zach Kerr, once again, no participation. Corey Peters, their starting nose tackle, no participation. And Jordan Phillips remained with limited participation, which is probably a good sign, because you have to keep in mind they did have a short week because they played on Monday Night Football. So yesterday was a walkthrough. Keep that in mind as we go through this. They could be dialed back a little bit. So Friday, I think, actually is a much more important day for the Arizona Cardinals because they've had a short week. But speaking of depth, how about we talk about that offensive line? Because now it looks like they could be missing some guys on the offensive line as well for this game. So Justin Pugh, who is their left guard, he was active last week, really didn't play offensively last week, but this was the week that maybe he was back to it at the starting left guard position. He had limited participation on a Wednesday, but today he was listed with no participation. I remember yesterday was a walkthrough, but today listed as no participation. However, it now says illness and not just calf, which I spelled wrong yesterday. The flu is kind of flying around, and it's been getting a lot of teams. It looks like the Lions hopefully have kind of passed that, but you can see with the Arizona Cardinals that popped up today, which definitely does not help. Now, keep this in mind. There's also a guy on here that's not on this list. That is their center, Rodney Hudson. All right, we all know the vet Rodney Hudson. He actually was placed on the COVID list today. Today, he was placed on the COVID list, who is their starting center. And there's been some thoughts out there that maybe that's why Justin Pugh is showing up with the illness, is that they're kind of checking him out, because now your center, Rodney Hudson, who has test positive, is now on the COVID list, and it's unlikely that he plays in this game. So it's likely they'll be looking at a backup center and possibly a backup guard, who has played the last few weeks again, though, so he's had experience doing that. Now, with the center position, they do have a couple of options for the center position. The guy that's listed as the backup is Marcus Henry. He is the listed backup, but from what I can tell, he's only played 4 snaps in his NFL career. Only 4 snaps, and I think those 4 snaps actually came this season. The other option they have is Max Garcia, who has played at the center position when Rodney Hudson missed time earlier with a rib injury. So I would believe that they would probably go with the guy that's filled into that spot earlier, but it's just something to keep an eye on with the offensive line depth, with the Justin, to see what happens with him. But now you have Rodney Hudson, who hit this COVID list. So, I mean, you do hate to hear that, because it's going crazy right now. The Arizona Cardinals luckily haven't been hit with it too hard, but around the league, I believe there's over 100 players on this COVID list, and I think Cleveland, the Browns, I know we have a ton, but I'm pretty sure the Browns have over 20 players on that list. So anytime you see that, it's just not good news. It's just bad news. But that is the Arizona Cardinals side of the injury report. There are still some things that we're waiting for there, and that we may not know until Friday, Saturday. But either way, that is the Cardinals injury report. Now let's take a look at the Lions side, because while we were hit with some really bad news, we did get some good news, I think, sprinkled in to this injury report. Let's start with the main story. That's TJ Hockenson, who is now likely to hit IR and is out for the season. Yeah, this is a report that I didn't even notice, because he's still on the injury report, because they have not officially put him on injury reserve. It's probably going to happen very soon. But as of now, as of this very second I'm recording, he is not currently on injury reserve, but the word is that he will be out for the season. This was a name that I was looking forward to when I opened up the injury report, just to see if he came back to practice, because I had the feeling yesterday, like I said to you guys, that he would play this week. Well, that's not going to be the case. Actually, he's going to be out for the season, according to Adam Schefter, as he is now having surgery on his hand. When this first popped up, if you guys remember, Hockenson didn't think it was a big deal. He said it was a little swelled up. He thought he would be able to play. This was on a Wednesday. Didn't play last weekend against the Denver Broncos. Did not practice. And now this week, he's not practicing, and now we're hearing that he's going to have surgery on his hand, which means that he will be out for the rest of the regular season. The Lions can't make the playoffs. That is some really tough news. I was hoping to get TJ Hockenson back. That's some really tough news. The good news out of this is that he should be ready for 2022 all-season programs. He is under contract for next season. 2023 is his last year, but I know there's that option year. The positive spin that you can put on this is it is an opportunity for other guys, and it's really about the second and third tight end position, where we're trying to figure out who those guys are. I mean, Hockenson's going to be back next season. I do think the Lions will bring him back, but it's about figuring out who are the 2, who is the 3. Is Brock Wright going to be a guy that we keep around? Not only is this an opportunity for Shane Zylstra, who got a lot of targets last week. We had a lot of design plays. We had a 4th down design play. We had the touchdown pass to him. We had a lot of designs to Shane Zylstra, so I think they do like him, and we'll get to see him again this week, and hopefully he can come through and make some plays for us. And Brock Wright as well, of course, for those 2 guys, but it's also a challenge for our offense to see if we can still move the football. Now, I do believe we can definitely move the football even without TJ Hockenson. Hockenson and Swift were kind of like the primary weapons, primary targets on this offense throughout the season. But we saw it last week without Swift and without Hockenson. The Lions still moved the football. They just made mistakes. They had the turnovers. They had things that stopped drives. They got stopped at the 1 yard line. They still were able to move the ball, but it's really about coming through on those crucial downs, which the Lions are going to need someone to be able to step up in those situations. It's like Anthony Lynn said today, and we'll get to in a second, but Anthony Lynn brought up on those third downs, playmakers make plays. The quarterback makes a throw, you pick up your pass protection, the guy makes a catch, someone makes plays on third downs. And really in general, but also specifically on third downs, those do or die downs, the fourth downs, whatever it may be, it's about somebody stepping up. St. Brown became a very big part of the offense last week. We utilized him in a lot of different ways to get him going. And I would expect that would be probably the same thing because you didn't have Swift. So you used him in the backfield, used him behind the line of scrimmage, you lined him up at the Z. Assuming that's going to be the same case this week as well. Without TJ Hockenson, it's looking more and more likely without Swift, who could also at some point possibly be put down for the rest of the season. It's about trying to find a guy who's going to step up. And that's where I think you get a lot to learn. Who's going to step up in those situations? St. Brown will be the key piece. But on third down, can you make a play for me? You pick up your blocks. That Shane Zylstra, it wasn't the easiest catch. It wasn't the best throw. Floated a little bit to Zylstra in the end zone, but you want to see him come through and make that grab. Go make a play. Shane Zylstra, he's going to be involved in this offense. Like, we got him involved a lot last week. Same thing with Rock Wright, but you just want to find out who are those guys that are going to step up when I need it most. That's what you want to know. Hockenson will step up. He's shown us he'll step up. Swift will step up. Well, at least we've seen a lot of that. Now it's about figuring out, okay, who's the next guy up for us? Now, there is a point when you hit injuries and it's like, okay, dude, we are just missing way too many pieces here, and we got some more bad news that we're going to get to, but it is an opportunity, and that's the way to look at it. So expect St. Brown to have another big week this week against Arizona and him to be a very big part of this offense, but it's just an opportunity for other players as Hockenson is now out for the season. And I think it's a good challenge to see what you can do offensively without having Hawk. Because like I said, they showed they can move the football. I believe they can move the football, but can they score? Can they make that big play, right? Can they score in the end zone? Can they pick up that big key third down without having those two guys? If you can do that, that's very promising for your future, and it also can show you what this team could look like without TJ Hockenson, and if they can find that success. Off on the top of this list, though, Alex Anzalone, the great news here is that he improved today to limited participation. He did not practice yesterday. Today, he was back at it. Great news for Alex. We didn't really see him last week, and today he got back to practice. So I'm not saying he's going to play this weekend, but that's fantastic news with Alex Anzalone. We would love to have him back and get his presence back on the field, especially in this game. Jalen Elliott did not participate, non-injury related. He's been placed on the COVID list, so that's why that is like it is. He was placed on the COVID list today, which I believe is the third time, and they said 18 months, which is nuts that he's been placed on that list. He's back on the COVID list. Now, that does lose us some safety depth, which you're thinking about where our safeties were. We had Jalen Elliott starting last week with Dean Marlowe because Will Harris was playing slide. That's how low we were on the depth chart. Now, Brady Breeze was added to the safety room, so if you need that depth, Brady Breeze could step in and probably help you, and I do think some of these guys that we picked up over the last week and a half could definitely play in this game. That's what it sounds like according to Aaron Glenn and the coaching staff. However, some good news sprinkled in here is that AJ Parker, I've heard, is expected to return this week. That's what I've heard. Don't know if he will. It's just what I've heard. If AJ Parker returns, our slot corner, that would allow Will Harris to go back to safety like it was in really the first half of the season. And now we know Tracy Walker, he's still on the COVID list, but he would be able to go back there with a guy like Dean Marlowe. Hopefully we get Tracy Walker back off this COVID list. By the way, we're speaking of COVID. They did change some of the rules of the COVID list. I'm pretty sure the main rule that they changed is that if you are now testing asymptomatic, which means you don't show symptoms, and you are vaccinated, one negative test and you can be back. It's a quicker way to get back for players that are vaccinated with this COVID situation. Same thing for staff members as well. So they did add that rule, so it's quicker path to get back, and we'll see if it affects some of our guys. We don't know who's vaccinated, who's not vaccinated. We know Evan Brown was, but he's already back. So that's just a little side rule that they threw in there. But if AJ Parker does return, allow Will Harris to go back to safety. If AJ Parker doesn't return, expect Will to stay at slot cornerback, and we'll probably have a guy like Brady Breeze taking some snacks back there just because of where we're at depth-wise. And we do have CJ Moore, so he's probably going to be the next guy up, and then at that point, you could mix in Brady Breeze if you needed to. I'd like to see Brady Breeze. I'm just straight up, I like to see the guy play because I liked him back in college. We did a video. I was pretty hyped. Jonah Jackson dealing with the back injury. I'm not sure what's going on here. I didn't see anything show up in the Denver game, but now here he is once again not participating. And at this point, it's concerning because now you're looking at Tommy Kramer, who would probably be the next guy up to step into that position. Now, last time Big V went down, because Jonah hasn't missed, I don't think, a game this season, Hockenson. When Big V went down, Kramer stepped in at right guard, and he definitely struggled. You felt the impact of him not being there, just like we felt the impact of not having Emmett Brown, who, by the way, is back for the Lions. All right, he did a media presser, and he had some funny answers. We'll get to that. But not having Jonah Jackson will mean that's likely Tommy Kramer slides into the left guard position. Maybe he'll fare better at the left guard spot. Warning about Logan Stenberg, he's currently on IR, so that would not be an option for the Lions. Oh, man, I'm going to have to put Hockenson on that long list. Oh, that's unfortunate. I don't want to put Hockenson over there, but I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to. That's sad. We'll see. He's not technically on there yet, though, so I don't have to do it yet. Anyway, Julian Okwara. Once again, no participation from Julian Okwara. He's missed, I think, the last 5 days of practice, they said. No participation. Once again, dealing with this ankle injury. It would be nice to get him back on the field. DeAndre Swift, no participation. At some point, they may shut him down for the season, depending on how serious this is. They're still giving him a shot to play. And Dan Campbell was hopeful at the beginning of this week. He said, I don't really have an update on these guys, but they do feel better. Well, now we know Hockenson, he's hitting IR because he's getting hand surgery. We're still not really sure where Swift is at. He said the guys would move around. Well, maybe Swift is one of those guys moving around off the side. So even though he's not technically practicing, he could be moving around, which could mean good news for Swift and possibly seeing it again this year. If not, I am fine with seeing Jermar Jefferson and Craig Reynolds to wrap up the season, to be honest with you, because I want to see what we have within those running backs. I mean, we know what we saw Craig Reynolds have a big game. I would like to see Jermar Jefferson get opportunities, because he was sick and he didn't practice last week. They didn't give him touches. Godwin, you could also get him mixed in. I wouldn't have an issue with rolling with those 3 running backs or those 2 running backs because first off, we showed we could run the ball with them last week. And I would like to see Jermar Jefferson get a heavier workload. So if it's serious and it's something they're not trying to avoid for long term, I could see shutting down DeAndre Swift and saying, hey, get right for next season into this offseason program. But he's dealing with a shoulder injury, not that groin injury. So maybe it's not that serious. We'll keep an eye on it. It would be nice to have Swift, though, just for the threat factor. It's just for having him on the field that defenses have to worry about. Derek Barnes, good news here is he improved to full participation. He was limited yesterday, which is a good start. You're not really sure with Alex because he was the first day of practice today, this week. He was only limited fashion. So you're not completely sure if he's going to get to play. Derek Barnes, who showed up this week, and it was like, oh, snap, we're really losing Derek Barnes too? Well, he's full participation. And Derek Barnes needs all the snaps that he can get, straight up. So the more we can give him, the better. Michael Proctor, still limited today, but usually when that's the case, he plays. Austin Bryant, great news here, full participation. Only took a handful of snaps last week, but he could be in line for a much bigger role this week with full participation today. I would love to see more Austin Bryant. I think he's in a spot where he needs, look, Julian and Austin Bryant, really Austin Bryant, but I think both these guys, there's a lot of players at this outside linebacker position right now. They have a chance to prove themselves because they need to. Look, the idea is the Lions are probably going to get a top pass rusher this year, top edge in this draft. I think most people believe it's going to be with their top pick. So at that point, you really have to prove yourself. You have Romeo coming back. Even if Trey is gone, you still want to prove that I should be a guy that's in the rotation. Harris has proved himself. And even though he's under contract, I'd bring the guy back. So for Austin Bryant, for Julian, this is when you can make that case because you're the guy with the reps. They will give you the reps. And for Austin Bryant, of course, you have to be healthy. He had full participation, which is good news. Now, Jimmer's been in back-to-back days of limited participation, which sounds good. Apparently, he was spotted wearing a red non-contact jersey, which is not really a good thing. That's why you wear those. So he's dealing with his shoulder injury as well. Good thing he's practicing. I'm not sure if he's going to play. Tomorrow we'll probably tell a lot, but that's the report I've heard is that that's what he's wearing, but still limited, so I'll take it. Penei Sewell, full participation. Man, this dude's a warrior. Shout out to Penei Sewell. Full participation today. Will Holden's a new addition to this list. Not injury related, did not participate. Not completely sure what's going on here with Will Holden. Is it a health thing? I don't really know. Is it a sickness? I don't know. Good thing is it's not injury related for Will Holden, but just like Jalen Elliott, not injury related, and all of a sudden he gets the COVID list. But technically he didn't practice yesterday either. Now he wasn't put on the list yesterday. He was put on today, but they're saying he didn't practice yesterday either. So you got to wonder about the COVID situation with a guy like Will Holden. So we'll keep our eyes peeled. And you wrap it up with Josh Reynolds, who's also a new addition. Look, there is a point where it's like, dang, we just don't have pieces. If you lose Josh Reynolds without Hockenson and without Swift, yeah, St. Brown's going to be a big part of your offense, but at that point, you're looking at Kadero Hodge or Trinity Benson, something like that. That's not where you want to be. Reynolds has been really good, and he's made this receiver room much more clear. That's how Dan Campbell put it. You don't want to lose Josh Reynolds. And seeing him show up today with limited participation is concerning because it's like, oh, did it pop up yesterday or did it pop up today? If he doesn't practice tomorrow, it could mean that he's out this weekend. I may be reading too deep here, but the Lions used this picture of Reynolds yesterday and now he's limited. So you just wonder if that popped up today, which would not be good. We'll see how it goes. The more and more I can see Reynolds and Goff play together, the better. I mean, I really like these two together. I think the more that he can put on tape for the Lions, the better chance he's brought back next season. And I would love to have Josh Reynolds back. So yeah, I hope he's good. We do need it. I mean, when you're looking at where we're at weapon-wise, you need this guy. Evan Brown is back. Hopefully Jonah Jackson can get back. I still think he's battling, this offseason for a guaranteed starting position. I actually asked Evan Brown if he could play guard, and he said, yeah, he believes he can play guard. He said, I'm a center that can play guard. The difference is the guards get more pure one-on-ones, with 3 techs. Brown had some interesting answers. He said because he was in quarantine, he was really the first guy put on this COVID list. He was in quarantine, and, he was staying at home, and he's like, I spent probably $1,000 ordering food in a week. I'm like, $1,000? What were you ordering, man? You spent $1,000? Okay, look, I know Wendy's is sort of expensive. It kind of is. But dang, $1,000, like how much of a tip was you leaving?
I found myself in that position at Outback Steakhouse. And I'm trying to say, I don't really know what to do.
Like, look, I would order my 3 to 4 meals at home. I didn't go out, because I didn't want to get other people sick. He said he was dealing with no symptoms, which is probably part of the reason why they changed the rule a little bit. It's like, hey, if you're not dealing with symptoms, you only need 1 negative test now. He was unable to play. He said he probably felt like he could have played. So he spent a lot of time playing some Call of Duty, watching football. Okay, I like that. Sounds like a good day to me. And then he said on Saturday, Sunday, he was jogging on the stairs. He was trying to get himself right, and now he feels good. He was able to practice on Wednesday. But $1,000, I don't know if I can see it. No, wait, hold up. I can see it. I don't know DoorDash's fees like that. See, look, I live in the middle of nowhere. So at this point, you don't even got DoorDash. You're like, nah, we don't come to your location. How you not come to my location? All right, I got one pizza place that will deliver to me. One pizza place. And the one time we order the pizza, the person don't know where the house is because there's no lights out here. It's not their fault. It's just we live in nowhere. Ryan McCollum, good experience for him, but yeah, we could use our center back. We definitely could. I mean, I think a lot of issues I think we had some issues that stem from that. I'm just going to be honest. So having Evan Brown back would be nice, and hopefully Jonah can play. I just hope. I really do. But maybe Gary Kramer's better at the left guard position. Maybe now that he's got that game under his belt, filling in for Big V, he's better. Let's hear from some of these coordinators as well. Let's touch on it. Aaron Glenn, he said he was disappointed last week. I think a lot of us were disappointed. He said with just the result, we had opportunities in red zone, opportunities to get off the field. Obviously, they weren't always put in the best position because of former turnovers, but we were unable to stop them. He blamed a lot of it on missed tackles, a lot of fundamental things. The one breakdown they had in coverage, which we talked about, where the safety dove down and then we blitzed the linebacker and it was a wide open flat. We missed a tackle. Another one, Jalen Elliott missed a tackle. This game, you got to be super disciplined. Like you always have to, but against this team, against this Kyler Murray, you have to be disciplined. He compared him to Russell Wilson, his ability to throw the deep ball, get outside the pocket, throw from different platforms. So you really want to keep this guy in the pocket. We'll get to that in a second. Now at the cornerback position, because we have so many guys out, now Jerry Jacobs, who's also out for the season, he said it could be Motely, who's been here for a while. It could be one of the 3 guys that we picked up. It looks like it's going to be a new guy. I like Parnell Motely in the preseason, but we haven't seen him yet. They went with Roby Coleman, who is also on the COVID list now. And we don't know when guys are going to come back. Like Iffy, who knows when they're going to get to come back? Maybe this new rule allows them to get back sooner. I don't know how they're feeling, so that's what you have to keep an eye on. I don't know how it's going to look, which means Motely could be making his first start, the first time we'd see him this season. Or it's one of the other 3 guys. It would be Chris Williamson, who has played a little bit this year. I could see them possibly going with that. Savion Smith. Those are 2 of the corners. They also have Brown, who's now on the practice squad, who's been here before. So maybe they go with Shakur Brown. Either way, we're probably seeing new names at the cornerback spot. I'm just putting it out there. We probably are. If we get AJ Parker back, great, but he's a slot. He ain't gonna play on the outside, so I don't think they will. I mean, if you have to put AJ Parker on the outside, it's probably not good. I mean, AJ Parker could play on the outside, but when they moved him to the slot, he was much better. So I guess he does have experience there, but he didn't bring up AJ Parker as an option. He said Motely or one of the other 3 guys. So I personally would think it would be Motely first. I would think, and then I'd probably be Williamson and then Savion Smith. The way I look at it is everyone's in the meetings, everyone's cashing their paycheck, so you better be ready to go when we put you on the field. Okay, simple as that. I like the answer. With Kyler Murray, the strategy, of course, you have to be disciplined. Your run lanes, like they were against Lamar Jackson. He said we want to try to keep him in a cage and throw through a forest rather than a highway. Okay, that's an interesting way to put it. And he said one thing we also have to make sure our defensive linemen are getting their hands up like they did to us last week because of who he is specifically. He's a little bit on the shorter side. So get your hands up, knock some passes down because he knows, like we know, we ain't getting no pressure. Our guys aren't getting pressure. And where we are health-wise, that's probably very likely not to change. So with that being the case, and maybe we can get a little bit of heat with some of their interior guys missing. Maybe Levi can put something on Aleem. Maybe Harris gets after it again. Maybe Austin Bryant comes and gives us something. I mean, that's the hope. But if not, get your hands up, knock some of them passes down. And that's actually what Anthony Lynn said about our batted down passes, that our line was doing a good job. They weren't always able to get there. So they just started putting their hands up. And he's like, there's ways to go against that. They're not always pleasant, but there's ways. You know, of course, you could play design away from it, but also, I mean, I know one way you have the offensive lineman hit the defensive player that's putting their hands up. Not very pleasant, but maybe they'll like, hey, I don't really want to put my hands up next time. I'm sure that was part of the way. But defensively for us, we got to play that same role and get our hands up. We got to learn from their defense, Denver's, to get our hands up and knock some passes down. But keeping him in the pocket. And again, it's like I said yesterday, as crazy as it sounds, we'll talk about this tonight, that could give us a slight advantage because we don't get a lot of pass rush anyway. So focusing on keeping in the pocket like we did for Lamar, maybe that's a slight advantage, but we need to. Our guy, I mean, if we could get some pressure, it'd be very helpful because we're already missing so many guys in the back end. He throws a great deep ball. Keep him in the pocket. Even if we're not getting pressure, just put your arms up. The guy is short enough where that release point is coming, a lot of those passes, they're going to be able to have a chance to get knocked down. Now, when he goes deep, he does loft it. He gets back foot like a Drew Brees. It's tough to knock it down in that situation. But when he's throwing it over the middle, you got to get your hands up. Teddy Lynn gave us some updates as well. He said, first off, the St. Brown and Jared Goff timing has gotten much better. Goff talked about it with some of their, option routes and how that's been good. Just the kind of anticipating where each one is going to go. And he said for them, the time has gotten better. The one real route, which was just weird, we didn't get to see it, unfortunately, because the film was not working yesterday. I got to watch it, though. And he said that was just a miscommunication. That was just miscommunication on who was supposed to do what. But their timing has gotten a lot better. He take players over scheme because he would just change his scheme to the player. He's like, yeah, you want to stay multiple as an offense, but if someone's really dominant at something, we'll just change it, and we'll do that. Kind of in the line's motto is fit the scheme to the players, not the players to the scheme, right? Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I said that weird, and it does make sense, though. He says offense is about getting matchups one-on-one. Sometimes it's about actually getting matchups on your offensive line. Who is my offensive line blocking? But then it's about the running back, one-on-one. Who do I want the running back to be one-on-one? He's like, I can't block everybody, but who do we get him one-on-one with? That's a matchup that we're also trying to get, and they said there was no surprise with Craig Reynolds because we see him in practice. We know what he's about. So really, those are main notes. Was much shorter, but yeah, Thursday night football. Who you got? Comment it down below. And also, we dropped our second video on the Patreon. Link is in the description, or you can also become an All-Pro member on this channel, and you will also be able to check those out. We dropped them in the community, so you can check them out. Either way, we dropped our second video, this one for Kayvon Thibodeaux, or Thibodeaux. I think it's Thibodeaux. I've heard both, but I think it's Thibodeaux. Kayvon Thibodeaux, the pass rusher out of Oregon. Remember, it's our first look, so those things are very subject to change. They are changing kind of daily because we continue to watch, continue to learn about guys, continue to make new theories and new ideas, compare them to other players. But if you want draft content, we are now dropping it over there, and we're going to have more stuff. But also check us out on Last Second Sports. We're going to be live tonight on Rad's channel, Last Second Sports for Last Second Dose. Thank you, Bob, for watching, and I'm out.